So how to restore balance, that's the question. You've got to look after these guys, you've got to protect them, you've got to nourish them. Main thing is just eating real food. So I tweet about this quite a lot, #TheJerf, just eat real food. These guys have evolved with us for millions of years to eat just a natural diet. You know, they feed a lot on mainly vegetables. So this is one good reason for eating some sort of fibrous veg in there, getting some prebiotic foods. Reduce your sugar consumption. Say it tends to be the bad bacteria just thrive on the sugars. There's even some theories there that the hormones released by the bad bacteria, or they release sort of fake hormones, so you get that endorphin rush when you eat the sugars because they want you to eat them. And it's, you know, could be to do with these bad bacteria keeping in that cycle of eating the sugary foods. Experiment with starches and FODMAPs. FODMAPs are like fermentable algae dye, mono and polysaccharides, so just like indigestible plant starches that these little guys can thrive on. You might have to be careful if you do have a bit of dysbiosis. It can cause you a bit of digestive distress at first, so you might want to build up slowly. Fermented foods, these are really important. So things like yogurt, like proper live yogurt, a good source of food for them, and also contain the sort of bacteria themselves. Things like sauerkraut, fermented vegetables, cheeses, all these sort of things are a good source of not only food for them, but a good source of the actual bacteria themselves. Put probiotics question mark, you can actually buy probiotic capsules now. Potentially they can help, but again, you've got to get all the previous ones lined up first. If you think of like probiotics as like seeds, if you just go and throw seeds on a barren garden, they're not going to grow. You've got to get the conditions right, you've got to get the foods in your stomach right for them to thrive on first. And then a bit of trial and error and patience. I mean, it's not necessary that, you know, you can actually know you've got dysbiosis. Some people suffer really badly with like IBS and IBD and just general digestive distress, bloating and gas. But some people don't, so, you know. And it might be that if you are suffering from all those conditions and you start to make these changes, your digestion might get a little bit worse to begin with. You've got to persevere with it, try including foods, not including foods. Just because you're not suffering though, and you can eat loads of junk and don't feel any ill effects, doesn't necessarily mean that you've not got issues in there, so it's still worthwhile bearing all this in mind. Getting on to the final section now of the talk. It's very, very important what you eat, you know, for all the reasons we've just covered. However, I'd say it's equally important how you eat and what you think about when you're eating. It's possible to eat a diet of 100% clean foods. You know, you just getting all your organic food delivered to your house and you're staying in there and you're meticulously preparing it and just eating, you know, liver and broccoli every day. But you could potentially still make yourself sick just through stressing about it and worrying about it and just not having a life, you know. Nobody wants to be like that. Equally, you could eat all the right foods but just eat far too much of them and still, you know, not be in the best health, or you could eat not enough of them and, yeah, be starving. You don't want that. Conversely, you can have a bit more of a relaxed and happy attitude to life and the foods you eat, and that'll give you a lot more wiggle room, you know. As long as you know you're covering your bases, getting your essential nutrients in there, and you're not having too many of the toxins and overloading yourself, you can just be a little bit more relaxed about what you eat and have a bit more freedom. So, I mean, obviously it's a massive, broad subject, this, which we don't really have to go in time to in full detail, but just as a quick overview. I think the most important thing is just to eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full. This is such, you know, an overlooked thing. You know, people just don't realise what hunger is anymore because we just eat because it's breakfast time, eat because it's lunchtime, eat because we've gone out, or have a snack, or there's a machine there. We're just constantly bombarded with food and the need to eat. And few of us really truly appreciate what actual hunger feels like because we've never really been hungry because you've just not had time. Really learn to appreciate what hunger is. I'm going to come on to intermittent fasting briefly here, and that'll, you know, help you understand what real hunger feelings are. And then when you do eat, when you are hungry, learn to really taste and appreciate the food that you eat. How many times do you just shove something down and it barely even touches the side and you don't even register it? Or you have something that's supposed to be like a really delicious treat and you just snapped it down and it's not even, you know, you've not even appreciated it. Everything in moderation, maybe. I think, you know, there's some elements of truth to that, but then, you know, including moderation, the famous phrase. There's nothing wrong with having a very occasional binge, but do it mindfully and really enjoy it while you're doing it, rather than just mindlessly stuffing food down all the time. I mentioned before the difference between pleasure and reward. I think this is a really critical, important thing. People make associations between food and emotion. People end up just binge eating on food to try and solve some sort of other problem. I think with all things in life, you should always do whatever you're doing, be it eating, be it an activity or a pastime, for the pure pleasure of doing it itself, and not for some sort of extrinsic reward or punishment for other behaviour. I'd say binge eating on highly rewarding foods is possibly the biggest enemy to health, physique and longevity that there can be. Some of the characteristics of rewarding food, just to be aware, tends to be very, very energy dense, with a perfect combination of fat, sugar, texture and flavourings. Essentially, the most rewarding foods tend to be the manufactured foods. Food manufacturers have got very clever at making foods that you just can't stop eating because they hit all these rewards. They also make them exactly the same every time, so it hits those exact sort of memory sensors, and they're generally associated with some sort of memory or emotion. They're very clever with the branding and so on. Real food can taste just as good. You make your own meal, you're a good chef. You can make it taste amazing, but you never get that sort of uniformity, so you don't get that same sort of binge eating effect. You know, nobody ever binges on steak and broccoli, even though it tastes really good. It's like biscuits and crisps and manufactured foods where you just lose that control. So just to finish off quickly, intermittent fasting. Mentioned the thing about hunger before. We've been conditioned just eating all the time. We've been lied to basically. Breakfast is not important, you know, not at all. There's no need to eat lots of little small meals. There's a good website, knowles.org, where he recommends eat like a predator, not like a prey. You know, herbivores, they just graze constantly all day. The predators come along, have one big meal, eat it, and then, you know, chill out. And don't fear hunger. Traditionally, it was being hungry that would make you go out and hunt. You know, it makes you alert, it makes you active. You've got plenty of energy stores. You're not going to pass out or, you know, go feeble if you don't eat all the time.